Salutations, fellow idiots. Welcome back to yet another episode of that full moon madness, baby. Today we're going to go ahead and conclude our urban classics coverage this wave with Creepozoids, the second David Dakota film to show up on the show, and the second featuring Linnea Quigley. I imagine we'll see more from both of them in the future. You're going to see plenty of Linnea in this, though. There's like a 3-minute shower scene, so you won't be disappointed. This is not a movie that I have childhood nostalgia for. I really had no experience with it till getting it as part of these full moon hauls. Used to see it show up in tape groups occasionally. And I knew of it as being like a well-loved, if sometimes lampooned, B-movie that had Linnea Quigley and some awesome fucking cover art. And it pretty much lives up to all those things and then some. It's a movie I think you should check out as soon as possible. So let's go ahead and jump on in here and find out why. I mean, we did already mention that Linnea Quigley shower scene, but I assure you there are several other reasons why this movie kicks ass. That is pretty high on the list, though. Creepozoids was directed by David Dakota, produced by David Dakota and John Showeiler, and written by David Dakota and Buford Hauser. It stars Linnea Quigley, Ken Abraham, Michael Aranda, Richard S. Hawkins, Ashlyn Gear, known as Kim McCarney at this point because it was before her adult film career. Hilarious on account of the fact that she refused to do the nudity in this, and I think her and Linnea had to switch roles on account of that. In any case, we also got Joy Wilson up in there as a random scientist lady at the beginning of the movie. It's got music by Guy Moon. It was distributed by Urban Classics and released on October 2nd of 1987. Basic gist of Creepozoids is it's the post-apocalyptic future of 1998. The Earth has broke out into nuclear war, and what remnants of humanity are left are all pretty much deserting the armies and taking off out into the wasteland to try and survive while avoiding acid rains and nomadic clans of fucking mutants. One said group of deserters ends up stumbling upon like this government facility. Really, it's a storage unit, like complex, that they clearly rented out for a couple of weeks and did some set dressing to make it look as close as they could to science lab place. Basically, it's just hallways and air vents for them to crawl around in. But yeah, they find this base and they decide to take shelter there. It's stocked up with everything that they would need as far as like provisions to survive almost indefinitely, or at least like a good 10 years. Only problem is they pretty quickly realize that the scientists who inhabited this base before them were trying to keep something in, not keep something out. And what they were doing there was experimenting on amino acids to basically make it to where humans could mutate or evolve to a point where they didn't need to eat. They could produce their own amino acids and proteins and things like that. And essentially, in conducting this research, they turned somebody that was once human into this creature that goes around like infecting them with this mutagen that then in turn makes it to where if they eat or ingest any proteins, they fucking overload and like melt. Also, anybody that like gets infected with this can, I'm assuming, infect other people, because there are people who get infected by like the lab rats that they had infected with this stuff. So it very quickly becomes like a cross between Alien and a Contagion movie, only really it's just low rent Alien in a storage unit facility, and it's a whole hell of a lot of fun. Yeah, there's some laughable stuff in there. They do run around in the hallways a lot, and there is a lot of vent crawling scenes to kind of pad out the runtime of the movie. But they also do a lot with what's there. There's a lot of it that's genuinely good. I think the set dressing with what they had to work with was done exceptionally well. It feels like an emergency little Fallout base, you know? The effects are all pretty good. When the people like mutate and melt, it's pretty fucking awesome. The little rat was pretty great. The creature itself does look like a dude in a giant rubber suit. I mean, this is very much a rubber suit monster movie, but it's a pretty cool looking monster, and they do some fun stuff with it. The stunt work was definitely not skimped on in this movie. I mean, there's motherfuckers flying through shelves all over the place. And the fight scene between Linnea Quigley and the other chick is pretty awesome. I think I touched on that a little bit in Sorority Babes, and it is definitely the case here as well. David Dakota seemed to like to put her in like action scenes if he could. It's a shame she didn't get to do a lot more of that kind of stuff, because she's good at it. I'm sure some of it was stunt doubles, but a lot of it was Linnea, and I enjoyed it. Anyway, the soundtrack slaps. slaps as well. It's like a Sega Genesis soundtrack, which I absolutely love. This actually probably would have made a really cool Sega Genesis game. And the whole plot as a whole is pretty cool. They could have just made this a simple Alien ripoff, but they decided to do something kind of smart with it. You know, the whole amino acids thing and them trying to make it where people don't need to eat totally fucking makes sense in a post-nuclear war type situation where humanity's gonna have to survive for a long time and a lot of the food might be contaminated or just gone. So I appreciate that part of it as well. That being said though, there is plenty of reasons to make fun of the movie. There's several lines in the movie that are fucking hilarious. The fact that for some reason they put 150 grand into making the movie and put most of it in the places it needed to be, but just for some reason pinched pennies hard on like the weaponry that the people had, because they all have like these little dollar store Uzi looking things that I'm almost positive were fucking squirt guns, just painted black, or from back in the day when they were still making shit like that look real, but they're clearly like toy store little mini Uzis. And even in somebody as diminutive as Linnea Quigley's hands, they still look comically small. And it's just weird because later on in the movie they totally do have a larger machine gun, but it's like they only bought one of them. It's pretty clearly a toy as well, but still it looks a lot cooler than the mini Uzis. All that stuff aside, this movie has a lot more going for it than it fails at. It's definitely worth your time. If anything, for Linnea Quigley's performance, it is legitimately one of my favorites, and I think one of her best performances. She just seemed like she was having a good time and really vibing with the people on set, so, you know, they got some really good results from her. Pivotal movie in the career of David Dakota as well. I don't know if I mentioned it or not in the Sorority Babes review, but this is the reason why he got Sorority Babes. Like, story goes, he did Dramaniac, and, you know, Charles Band released it, but he wasn't fucking impressed with it, you know, he thought it was pretty trash. It was his first movie out of the adult film business, so I think we can cut old David some slack. But then he came with Creepozoids, and Charles Band saw this, and he was like, yo, I need you to do this other movie. That other movie turned out to be Sorority Babes. And then from there, he's went on to do several movies with Charles Band over the years, as well as other people. He hasn't only done full moon movies, but those have been some of his best output. My favorite, personally, being Puppet Master 3. Absolute fucking masterpiece, in my opinion. Creepozoids, though, is just a fun little B-movie that, if not taken too seriously and focused on for the right reasons, I think would become a favorite in most people's retro full moon sort of, you know, Empire Urban Classics rotation. Definitely worth watching several times over. So now I guess all that's left to do is talk about those motherfucking special features on this digitally remastered edition. And they are basically non-existent. You know, it does have a leg up on other digitally remastered editions we've covered in that it does have a director's commentary on there. And it does have the original trailer. Not a remastered trailer, because I don't think one exists. But that's pretty much it outside of a rare photo gallery and your standard set of fucking full moon trailers, which tends to be whatever movies they were really trying to push at the time. So little light on the special features end of things, but it does make up for it slightly with the inclusion of that director's commentary, which I very much look forward to listening to here real soon. Highly recommend you guys check this out. It is available on Tubi, as well as, of course, the Full Moon streaming app and Amazon Prime, if memory serves. So get out there and fuck with Creepozoids immediately. That does it for that Urban Classics coverage, baby. At least for now. We have several others that we will cover in the future. But as always, I have been Mosley, you've been a bunch of sexy beasts, and this has been yet another episode of that Full Moon Madness, baby. Cheers. Thanks for hanging out.